Yes. When I say yes, I mean yes. As we are here with Sabrina, one of the most amazing midwives here in Tulum and really probably in this region. And I know she's humble about it. This is actually the first time that we've got to meet each other, but I've been in her circle and been waiting to get to share and receive from some of her wisdom and also to just learn. And so the reason why Ezria, who's been in this men's space, has been waiting and so happy and really wanted to seize the day and the opportunity to connect with Sabrina is because I have a really deep, not just a belief, but a knowing that it's important for us as men to identify, to spend some time speaking with the women who are in the doula and the midwife position, in life, and to learn a little bit more about ourselves, also the physiology of the woman, the experience of the woman, as we hold space for that, whether we want to or not, we're in the same space together. And so I'd love to take this moment to allow Sabrina to introduce herself, and then in this kind of dialogue, I'll share a little bit more about myself and my journey, and why it's so important. But even if I don't say it, you already know. So thank you for agreeing to hop on, and now we can talk as long as we'd like to, because now we're on my Instagram. Wow.
Yeah.
Sabrina, please.
Hi.
Yes. And you may need to just speak up a little bit.
Yeah. So my name is Sabrina. I was born in Switzerland. I have 8 children.
Amazing.
I birthed them all at home. I had 4 unassisted births.
Wow.
I learned, I studied in England, I studied psychology, and I went to work in psychiatry. So definitely like the healing sciences were what I wanted to do. But then from the psychiatric care, I went and studied naturopathy because I felt like alternative medicine was my thing. Yeah. And then I had my first 2 children in Switzerland with a midwife and birthing center. And I said, I have to leave Switzerland. This is driving me crazy. And I want to become a midwife. I had a spiritual awakening in my first birth experience. And that really opened the door to midwifery. And I said, I want to do this. I need to do this. And I wanted to leave the system. This was in 1995. And I decided I wanted to come to. I found a place on a map, like
you just did this one of these, and that's kind of how it works for so many of us here in Tulum as well.
It's a long story. It will probably be an hour, but I don't know if you know that healer Chris Griscom.
I've heard the name.
Yeah, she was like Shirley MacLaine. She was like a Hollywood healer, and she birthed her 5th baby in the Caribbean. And I bought a book. In that time, we bought books.
Back when we used to read libros. Yeah, how about that?
And I went to the bookstore and I bought this book, and I was like, wow, that's how I want to have my baby. Wow. This is it.
So you felt the frontier's woman, so to say.
Yeah. She had her baby in, what is that? Bermuda. That's an interesting place. No, Bahamas.
On the Bahamas, okay.
Oh, I'm lost.
It's where people go and conceive babies.
Yeah.
She wants to go have it there. I get it, yeah.
And I have a memory as a kid in the Bahamas. My parents were both journalists, and I have this like photographic memory that I wanted to stay there, and I told my parents to leave. And so like I saw that Mexico had a little bit of Caribbean, and I'm like, yeah, it's probably like financially more viable for me to go there. And I saw this place, Tulum, and I kept like in the gray city. I got on the public transport, and I always drove past this Mexico, this travel agency that specialized, and it had already back in that time a photo of the ruins in Tulum, and I'm like, I want to go there. So I had my 2nd baby, but life didn't allow me to go to the jungle and leave the system. So when he was 8 weeks old, I was like, I had the opportunity to go, and we came to Tulum.
That began the journey here.
Yeah. I was this is where I'm going to learn midwifery from the Mayan midwives. I'm going to leave the system. I wrote my mom a letter that I'm leaving. She's like, you're crazy, you'll be back in a month.
That's
I've been here for 30 years.
So 30 years in, and approximately how many babies, just for people to know, have you delivered
like
this
around
region.
1,000.
1,000. That's a whole generation, consistently. I would love if you could you just explain to the folks, what is midwifery?
What is midwifery?
Yeah.
It's a woman being with a woman. I realized it's not just, midwifery has existed probably from the beginning of humanity, even before when we were maybe mammals. Some people believe we were. So it's very genetically imprinted, this want to have a woman at your birth.
Support, right?
She doesn't even have to do anything. She just has to be there. And I realized that when I had my non-assisted births, and a friend of mine who's not a midwife was there, and I was like, wow, this is amazing. She's giving me so much presence, so much calmness, and this is the kind of midwife I want to be.
Because you know the difference between birthing her children on her own by herself, right? Without assistance, and then having someone to be there.
It's not a mind thing. It's like a genetic thing. It's like something that's inside of us. That's why I always say midwifery. There's a lot of political movements. So in Europe, in the States, we have the midwives, the ones who are trained by modern medicine, by the male system.
Sure.
And then you have the traditional midwives who come out of this, I don't think it's just indigenous heritage, it's a gender heritage. It's something we have in our DNA as women. When we give birth, there's want to have someone there.
Lovely. And you notice a similar thing for the men, right? So it's amazing now for you to have been able to support these women, and also this support is also helpful for men. Me also knowing how nice it was to have my first wife's mother there, even though she kicked her out. It was just during the birth, she kicked her out, and it was just me. If you're watching, Sweetie Pie, your mom kicked her mother out, which was fine, because also I was like, wow, I felt a tremendous amount of pressure at the time, but also it was like really beautiful and intimate. And I thought, okay, moving forward, I want to be the one to help in this delivery, and really learn more about this whole process, and just be more of a structural, strong force. But I know that it was important for her to have that, and I could feel the shift energetically in the room, even though she put her mom out, what she felt.
Yeah, the thing is, when you give birth, your brain waves change, and so you go into theta brainwave, and theta is expansive brainwave and connects with other people. So if the other person in the room is fearful, the woman feels it. You know exactly what everyone's feeling.
Yeah, I could see that was coming up. It was just like, what's going on here?
And you got to get rid of those people. Just go outside. So as midwives, we know the one who suffers most at the birth is the mother's mother.
The mother's mother. That's interesting. I would love for us to just chat about a couple things that maybe there's some things that you've noticed now over this time that the men could really benefit from knowing. There's, of course, I really try to chat with the brothers about postpartum and recontextualizing their ideas of that. It's not just, she gave birth and then it's cool in maybe a day or two. That can last for a much longer time, which helps the men to have more compassion. But also the shifts in the family, what would you say? This is like, if we start from conception, the pregnancy, birth, after birth.
Well, I think we're very social beings. We all think we're individual, and we're not part of this society. It's so screwed up. But we are. We're so conditioned, and that we understand when we look at other societal structures, and you're like, wow, I've been conditioned in everything. So birth is a very social event, like death as well. So Robbie Davis Floyd is an anthropologist. She writes about it, and I wrote a chapter in one of her books. And she says that, birth in the era of plastic, there will be machines present at the birth, and it will make people feel safe. Also at the death, because that's what socially machines are part of our daily life, right? Here we are in front of machines.
Sure, we're in front of a machine speaking.
So I think suddenly this gender thing starts to present when a baby's born.
Mm-hmm.
No, you're a guy. You don't understand me. Oh, you're because the gender thing is what gives us safety.
So this divide is presented, and it's coming from a place of trying to protect themselves?
Yeah, I mean, if you're attacked, you try to protect yourself with the tools that you have.
Interesting, yeah.
And patriarchy gives men a lot of tools in the end, right?
Sure.
And they're just tools of protection because simply we don't know. My whole thing is that our society doesn't know how to deal with motherhood. So we have women have different life cycles like men do too, right?
Mm-hmm.
So women are the girl, then they're the maiden, and then they're the mother, the archetype. There's a lot of more archetypes, but the basic ones, the mother, and then the crone.
Mm-hmm.
So like the girl wants to be a maiden. The mother wants to go back to the maiden.
Interesting.
And our whole society is trained that the perfect image of the woman is the maiden. And our society adores the maiden.
Right.
Sex, the sexy woman, the beautiful woman. And the grandmothers want to be the maiden again, and the mothers.
So
That's patriarchy.
Oh, so you would say that the patriarchy, as you view it, would be encouraging that.
Patriarchy is a social system. You can see it between, like, if you analyze animals, bonobos and chimpanzees.
Mm-hmm.
Bonobos are matriarchal, chimpanzees are patriarchal. And so it's the macho male alpha male is dominant. Who's the macho alpha male in our society? It's the white.
Supposedly.
White.
What's presented as the macho male, due to the suprematal, the system that's been set up, would be the white male.
Yeah, the white heterosexual male.
White heterosexual male.
So
that's not to say that is the main thing of masculinity. All men are in these bodies with the same equipment.
Been passed,
but it's what's been
down
passed
history.
Historically, and that's what's been dominant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's been dominant with it's been weaponized and everything. But it's also, patriarchy is that the male last name gets passed on. It's about like passing on territory. This is my land, I'm passing my property, I'm passing it on to you. So the two basic words to describe patriarchy is dominance and control.
Dominance and control. The two basic words currently, right?
And so, like, when I talk about patriarchy, we're all in it. Me. So imagine all the things you do in life, you do with dominance and control.
What would it be for the matriarchy?
We even do motherhood in a dominance and control. We dominate the birth process. We control it with medicine. But we're also mothering our children like that. And even permissive parents, parents who are like,
what would it be for the matriarchy then?
Okay,
to draw the contrast.
Exactly. So the matriarchy, the Moso is a matriarchal tribe in Tibet, southern Tibet. And so in the matriarchy, the mother, it's not the maiden, the mother is the cycle, is the main concept of their society. So everything is adored, and so the process of motherhood is creation and nurturing.
So dominance and control versus creation and nurturing,
So imagine if our politics are domination and control. Our science is the way we see the world, the way we interpret it. The bacteria dominates, controls the bodies. We have to take antibiotics to get rid of it, right? But what does the matriarchy say? No, we have to nurture our bodies, we have to be healthy, and then we can create life.
Healthiness and then...
So it's a mothering concept. Also, like in the Mosuo tribe, the father isn't so important. And the mother isn't really either as an individual.
Right, it's more
so I have 8 children, right? In a Moso, they would all live with me.
Okay.
and the girls get a room, and they have the standing marriages, walking marriages. So she at night she would receive some guy she wants to receive. And it doesn't. They love this person, right? But in the morning he goes back to his mother's family.
Okay.
So the whole money and land and control issue is in the mother's control. So basically there's no one living, no mother has to live on the street or fight for
It's a
her
different
well-being.
society. Well, here's what I'd love to do, if I could, because it's not necessarily answering the question
Yeah.
that I had for you, things that would be important for men to know about,
So-
currently
so,
about relationship,
yeah.
but it is building a construct and a structure that sounds ideal
Exactly.
in a way, and so I honor that, and I would love to.
And so
Turn
my
back to
idea is to track back, how can a man is like to say, okay, I put motherhood in the center of my understanding, of
Versus
my
maidenhood.
conscious. Yeah.
Thank you.
So if I have a woman in postpartum, how would you do it now, knowing all this?
Maidenhood. Now,
Like,
right? Well,
I'm
I think
asking
no.
you.
I think it's
pretty
really
simple.
amazing because now
Yeah.
I'm looking at her through a different lens and not trying to direct her back into maidenhood. But there's also been the understanding of a rites of passage that she's gone through by nature,
Mm-hmm.
and then also, wanting to bring more women in so that we can move into and to really also as a man to understand the process of what it is
That's
for a
it.
woman to become a mother, and so now I can see the importance, and it is important to know the difference between domination and control. There is a structure that we
Mhm.
hold, but it doesn't have to necessarily be from those 2 points, but the fact that there's creation
So-
that happened and nurturing that's necessary.
So if I say to you, damn it, Ezra, I feel like shit. Like, I don't know what to do. I feel like tired. I don't know what to do. You never help me. You never do anything. I just feel abandoned. From a controlling aspect and dominant, it would be like, well, maybe you should just get up and walk around.
Yes. I
I think you're just
so it's
like,
coming with the immediate solution
yeah.
per se, but then what would you say?
But because I want to control it, I want her to be
You wanna
happy.
fix it, right?
So what if I create and nurture her? So babe, what do
Would
you
that not be
need?
controlling it as well, or the nurturing is?
But
coming
what
from
if
a
you
different-
nurture her? How would you react?
How would I react?
Yeah.
Or I would react in a nurturing way.
Exactly.
Yeah, so there'd be more patience,
Well,
of course.
yeah.
Yeah, and then actually just seeking to understand, but not trying to force anything, because then the nurturing part, for me, from what I've seen, is allowing things to play themselves out, but still being present. In
What
that
does a
space.
nurturing mother do with her
It
child?
brings in
Yeah.
close.
And she has
And
connection,
there's connection. There's
right?
presence there.
There's presence,
Mhm.
and there's like, what do you need?
And there's a feeling beyond the words as
Exactly.
well, because the words say da 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 da, and we can take it as an offense or
Mhm.
something that makes us put up our guard and then we revert, or we can choose to be in a more mature stance, and just because we can receive it, you can receive it.
But when you say, I have to be mature, you're actually dominating and controlling yourself.
And that's my choice. But I mean, it's
No, but I mean, like, if we
Yeah.
all want to be more nurturing to
Right.
ourselves,
Yeah.
it's like, dude, I'm having a hard day too, but I want to be here for you now.
But
And
not all
I
that has to be
understand
said.
that.
We can just be there for her.
Exactly.
And because that's really how it goes.
Yeah.
Right? Is I'm there for you, and then there's space. It's not, hey, I'm having a hard day too, because we've seen that ping pong. So as a man, you're gonna have to control yourself in
Yeah.
a way, but it's not control yourself and throw yourself away. It's have a little bit of structure in the meantime, with the intention to receive. So you can absolutely. I'm speaking for sure from experience, but I'm open to getting your
No,
take.
I understand the
Yeah.
ping pong. The ping pong starts
So
when the
avoiding
woman
ping
is
pong.
in patriarchy too.
Yeah, sure,
So she's like blaming the man
absolutely.
and trying to control him and trying to dominate him.
So how do we get out of the manipulation? What would you say?
I think for me as a midwife, it's really important that the woman has an empowering experience at birth. Okay, there it starts. If you,
Sounds good.
as a husband, take your woman to a hospital and you just kind of drop her off and wait for the doctors to tell you, oh, is it a boy or a girl?
I don't trust the hospitals like that. Yeah, so that
Well, in
is that still
Mexico,
happening?
yeah,
Yes.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
Good to
yeah.
know. Good to know. Wow.
Yeah, so in Latin America, I think 90% of the women give birth alone
Really?
in a very
That's something I did not
obstetric
know.
violence, and
Wow.
that's why we say violence gets reproduced. So the woman comes out broken. She comes out abused, raped, And then she comes to a guy and he's like, you know, you did the right thing. You went to the hospital. And she's like, really?
Wow.
In my mind, in my heart, I feel, no, I didn't do the right thing. It wasn't for me, Sabrina, the right thing. But I did it for society. That's the first step of patriarchy.
So the first
Close
step
your
is,
eyes and think of the queen.
and think of the queen. That would be the first step in closing your eyes and thinking of the queen. Would be
Of
the first
breaking
step
a human being.
in breaking the person.
Yeah, and
Versus-
then imagine that relationship afterwards.
Let me get a contrary. So as opposed to, so you're saying that within that construct, it's close your eyes versus look at the person. It's close your eyes and then you're dealing with the person. So you're not really seeing them.
I
Do
work
understand
with
that
a
right?
lot of women in the red tent,
Mhm.
and a lot of women carry a lot of trauma from the births, and that trauma will affect all her relationships.
I can see that. And then not even thinking
But-
about the trauma that happened before the birth.
But
You know,
it's
like-
naturalized trauma. So it's like I did it for the benefit of our culture. I did it for our society. I did it for you as
Wow.
the father.
Okay.
And that's already destroying, like that relationship is so hard to restore. And
What
I
is-
think that's why a lot of women are not with them.
Wow.
That's my
A lot of women
idea.
are not with the father.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's
Now the other side is, what if you have an awakening event and you have a conscious man who is there at the birth? There's still like stuff you gotta work through.
there's a lot of things. So now I'm in a space of men who would sincerely, they're going to consider themselves conscious in the
Mhm.
process of awakening. They want
Yeah.
to bring the best experience to their wife, but these things are happening. What are some of the things that now, okay, we've given men the construct, maybe there's some of you guys are aware of it, some of you are not, how that has affected the woman in the birth, some of the things that she may not be speaking to, that she's carrying as a trauma. Now the child is born, what are some things that you've seen in the household that would be beneficial for the brothers to understand, to be more compassionate? Regarding postpartum even.
Yeah, I mean, it changes you. Birth transforms you. You're not the same woman anymore. So it's like an initiating rite of passage, which can be very traumatic. It can be very empowering.
Sure.
So we don't have like a golden, well, I can't tell you, this woman will have an empowering experience, even if she prepares 100% on
Right.
it. So I think the ground rule for postpartum is to have a lot of understanding that this person went through a lot of changes in their life and is not the same person you were with 9 months before.
I think it's really powerful because a lot of times we're thinking, oh, you had the baby now, you go back to normal, whatever that means,
And we try as women.
And then women
We
also try,
yeah.
sure. I've seen that, and
Yeah.
I've seen the frustration that comes from that.
Yeah.
But it's a nice thing then to come into a space where you can accept that something really powerful has just happened, and also, I guess then it's to create a spaciousness to see.
Exactly.
So there's the curiosity, which can
Mhm.
also be a nice spark, but navigating that curiosity may mean not putting certain pressures on. You really got to find out then what's before you.
It's like creating this space together
Mhm.
and saying, okay, let's create this new life together, and what it is, if we're both really open towards that.
Could I say establishing a new reality together?
Yeah, definitely. We do that whether we want to or not.
So consciously
We're in
doing
it, but
Yeah,
consciously
absolutely.
doing it.
Reality.
Now,
Conscious.
there's some basic things with mothering that are like, I have, for instance, a super, super conscious couple.
Mhm.
She's pregnant again, and he's taking care of the household and the daughter, and she's pregnant working, right? And then
She's the provider, would you say?
she's a provider, and he provides a home.
Sure.
And then when I met him, he's like, it's really hard work being a home provider.
Mhm.
Realizing that as a man, that it's hard work. You gotta get up, you gotta get ready. It's just, there was like one little thing that I just made me smile, because she goes to work and she brings her daughter to school and she picks her up. And then he does everything else at home. He gets the daughter ready and whatever. The thing is, if it would have been role reversed, I'm 100% sure she would have taken that girl to school and taken her home, plus doing all the work.
Okay.
So it's just innately in us to do a little bit more.
So what happens when you have a woman who's not doing more?
What is it? Well, she's probably depressed. Like a guy who's not doing more, there's always something there, right? I think this is like the balance. Like, it's something funny. I have I have 4 children from one man, 4 children from another man. And in my birth, my first partner was really important for me at the birth. The second one, not at all. I actually had to send him out. I was like, please, can you go make a fire? So
this can change? Have you seen it change with same partner, where it's in one birth?
Yeah, definitely, because you realize after 3 births that this is not about men. This is not a male thing. Males are there, they're supporting us, and it's really super good. And it was important for me in these births to like bond with him. But after that, I was like, he's not necessary for this process.
You felt more.
It's a 100% my process.
Interesting.
But
have you had women come to that conclusion on the first birth?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they send them out. But when the man is really like, she's in her space. She's feeling a lot of pain. She's going through a thing. And then he's like, and then she's like, don't touch me. And then he'll be like, okay, you want to do it? And he starts arguing with her, and she's like, dude, I don't need this right now.
And these are the things that thank you for pointing it out, because really it's then, what I feel is going to be important for men is, one, to become educated on the process, 2, to really take some time ahead of time, because we can anticipate with information. That's how the male logic works.
Yeah.
To know, okay, how to interpret what's coming from, and maybe how would you respond. So when the woman says that, we got to keep in mind, it's not, draw yourself back and keep in mind she's going through this process with her body that she can complete sort of solo, because you've done it a couple of times. And so it's really being able to give what's needed in the moment, and being aware of the different things that may arise. And there's always going to be something new, but not taking offense.
Yeah, the thing is, I do that in prenatal care. I say to everyone who's going to be at the birth, if it's the father, just anyone who's there, if the woman sends you out, do not take it personally. This is like her vibe. This is her. It's like, would you take it personally if a cat was giving birth and hissed at you? No, because she's in her space. She's birthing those babies. We need to respect that.
And these are things that aren't necessarily.
However,
So
a woman will never forgive you for walking out on her during the birth.
I've heard in my work with other couples
that relationship will be over.
And also, what's interesting to talk about, which, the different ways that a woman will feel abandoned. Even if you're there are ways that she can feel abandoned. Yeah. And so I think it's nice actually to start to have these dialogues for some of you men before you've even slept with a woman, and like really getting to know your partner, but also knowing, as you've mentioned, that once this woman is pregnant, so much is changing within her. Yeah. When she goes through that transition of giving birth, it is a transition. And then afterwards, there's a consciousness there, but also I've seen women in their depression mourning like their old self, like they lost their old self.
So I think like this is my call. I don't know, you work a lot with men, but like for me, most men have a father wound. Right?
Yes, we just did.
And most men were abandoned by their father at some point. So in the first pregnancy, they will have to face their father wound.
Thank you.
And that's really hard. That's like, I was abandoned, and I don't want to abandon. And then I end up abandoning in different ways.
Yeah, absolutely.
And repeating that pattern, and it's like, fuck, I didn't want to do it, but like, I don't know, I'm on my phone the whole time, I get nervous, I can't deal with her. Yeah.
There's an avoidance, right? Yeah. And then there's also the type of ways that they deal with conflict. Are you comfortable?
Yeah, I'm good.
Is he okay? Yeah, no,
I
appreciate this, and then and so dealing with it, and we brought this up, right? I said the last men's group we talked about the first trauma, which is the father wound that we seldom talk about, and it's not blaming anything on our father, but just understanding and looking deep to see if there are things that we're holding from our dynamic that's now playing out in our relationships.
Yeah, we repeat as human beings what we've lived through as children. So I think when you find a partner, it would be interesting to know their family story.
That's interesting, right?
Because it's definitely going to repeat, but somehow it attracts you. So somehow it fits in with your family story.
Mm-hmm.
I really don't believe, like, if you guys break up and whatever, but like as conscious humans, we can still co-parent.
Mm-hmm.
And that for me was very difficult, that I couldn't do that for many years with my ex, because he was like, it was very drama.
Was it you were open to it, but then within that dynamic, there's so many other things that weren't.
I come from a very difficult, my mother would watch this, she'd be like, you had such a beautiful childhood. What are you talking about?
What was it to you is what mattered.
I think I had a traumatic childhood. I was abandoned very much, so I found a partner that was very hardcore and has addiction issues. So like it was drama for the whole time we were together, but also for the 10 years we broke up. So for the children, it was very traumatic, the whole thing. And I just always prayed and worked on that. Why can't we just be friends, which we are now.
Excellent.
There's been a lot of healing there. I did that really helped me, that family constellation.
So then what I'm also taking from this, and I'm experiencing, 20 years later, from relationship, that things can come full circle. So a lot of times when things are unfolding in the relationship, we become myopic. We have just this view of, this is it, this will never end. I'm in between a rock and a hard place, and you also can judge the relationship, but we don't know, because time heals certain things and gives you time for perspective. So then, first thing I put down for the men, which, we can definitely talk about this, is identifying your father wound, and also being able to speak to your partner, because both people may have wounds, about what that looks like. And these are things you can do during the pregnancy.
Well, socially also, men have this problem that, the idea is like, when you get married, dude, you're gonna lose all your force, your freedom.
Yeah, we want our freedom.
And like for women, it's like, oh, you found the man, it's you perfect. So like women are very hooked, and men are very like, oh my God, I can't go in this relationship. It's actually a lot of times the other way around.
So now we're
man
speaking
can't live without the woman.
Yeah.
I realized that years later. It was my insecurity, and I realized, my ex, after all this time now, like, 30 years later, he says to me, I can't believe you can be alone. I can't do that. I have to find a partner to feel safe, to feel grounded. And I'm like, dude, no. And a lot of women say I'm just much happier on my own, because sometimes that's the kind of relationship we establish with each other, right?
Interesting. So then we're speaking to expectations and beliefs. So then what I would do now as a facilitator and beliefs programming, I'm going to put that down, programming. So then these would be topics now that, and you see what I'm extrapolating from this dialogue is, okay, what are the topics that we want to speak with the men about in preparation? Mm-hmm. So I work with men. Let me share a little bit about what I've done in the past and what I currently do. I think that would be fair, right? So she just came on, she agreed, my request to come on and do a live. So previously, I come out of college, I studied radiation physics in college, which then allowed me to work privately for the military as a contractor, and then also, in the hospital setting, doing environmental cleanup, specifically in the space of radiation, radionuclide, radioactive material, chemical materials, working in geology, and then also in environmental other things. I've also worked in the Department of Agriculture, which would be like protecting, looking into spaces that have GMOs, working in understanding the pesticide law and rules, creating and assisting in creating regulations for the South Pacific, the military complex, so to say, and then going and doing cleanup. So then I'm someone who would put on the suit and actually show up and characterize, do historical site assessment, clean up, and then work with the group, and also with some more higher, I would say kind of elite military people, to go and characterize, clean up, containerize, remove. And so I utilize some of the same skill set in the men's space, because what we have is things that have surfaced that are considered contamination, which would be a toxic outlook on life, toxic behavior. So then I'm able to, as a projector and also Virgo, right? It's zone in and I see, okay, this is off, like blind spotting, and I'm able to help men cultivate now a space where they can come into understanding their principles, their priorities, their golden thread, which weaves into everything and allows them to have a genius scope to see and understand, and then seek after behaviors that will build their character, and a character that isn't just about me, but weaves me into the village, right? How can I grow and cultivate myself as a man? How can I cultivate robustness? Know when it's right to be serious as well, which can be here or there, and then also a different perspective on the women who are around me, so it means I have to learn and understand them, the children, and then something for the long haul. So it's long-term goals versus the immediate gratification. Hence, when I say use the term maturity, it's because we're around, would be typical signs of maturity. And even to have now an appreciation for the crone aspect of the woman. So I really love that you spoke to all those different archetypes, because then it would not be aligned for us to be trying to force ourselves or anyone else into an archetype that isn't timely with the cycle. And so this is some of the work, because I have to pay attention to cycles as well, so that we can spiral. So now I'm in the men's space. I also work with women, and I'm also a carrier of medicine of Iboga, and I also work with Bufo. So I've gone, and spent time with Kutucheka, and also I'm initiated in the Bwiti tradition. It's a brief initiation, but I have family lineage also that comes from that country, where there are actually women working with the medicine, and working with also in the space of childbirth, also in the space of natural healing and relationship things. And so I have a natural proclivity for that, and I would say that my golden thread is intimacy and helping to create the harmonious relationship. Hawaiians would call it, like navigating with Ho'oponopono, which is making relationship right, which also is part of the red tent, and it's like right relations is important to me. Iwapele is important to me. So this is kind of as in a Tulum nutshell, to where I've decided to just go wholeheartedly into that. I love relationship, maybe a little too much, and so I've navigated in that space, but I've never, in truth, I've always wanted the best empowerment for myself, for my partner, for nature.
So on an energetic level, this you can understand, right? So on
Yes,
an energy level, we have yang energy, which is yang is what
like
physics.
yin and yang.
It comes out propulsion.
Yes, penetrating even. You say penetrating.
Well, because it's circular and it goes out, and the yin goes in.
Yeah, so then
right?
we would say
So
centrifugal and centripetal.
Yeah, that's the one.
Centrifugal. So then now we're talking about the torus.
Yeah.
Right. So this is that.
Yeah. Okay. So the sexual organs in Chinese medicine, the penis, the expulsion is
Ejaculation is centrifugal.
Fugal.
Yeah.
And the vagina is centripetal.
Right.
Right? And the heart of the man is the other way around. The heart, okay?
Thank you for speaking to that. That's right, because a poles they're not poles, but what we consider.
So the man has yang, yin.
Yeah.
So the man sucks in at the heart.
Right.
And the woman gives out at the heart.
Oh, it's being recorded, so I don't have to draw. I'm sitting here drawing a sketch. But this is what I've spoken to with you brothers as well. So I really, appreciate you speaking to that. Because what I've spoken to is what was a big shift for me is really being in a space of making love with a woman, and then I actually felt penetrated. Like I felt, from the heart, and I had never felt that before. And I was, I know on my state, I was really open. I was like, wow, this is what a woman feels.
But then, if it's not good, the man penetrates too much, the woman has sex too much. But also on the heart level, the woman feels like she's always giving, always giving, always giving. And for the man, it's just like, you're not good enough for me. You don't do this for me. You don't do that for me. And so that's when we have this imbalance.
The imbalance is that takey, and then we see this in both sides. I've sure seen it in both directions. Yeah, so that's a great example. And also, I think, men, it's really interesting to hear and to consider the difference in poles, in that your heart we know this. That's why they say, even in the game of chess, it's guard the king's heart. Why? Because the heart would be as that part of a woman. That's your sacred space.
So now when you give birth, the baby's yang. The baby,
all the babies
in the birth process, come out of you.
Right.
So actually, you as a woman, you do the both of it, and that can be so mind blowing. There's so much energy going out. So me as a midwife, when I have a woman in postpartum depression, I have to close that energy. It's no more out there.
No,
you gotta close it. Now you're receiving again. Pull it up.
So now her basically the way that she's moving the energy is still going like this, and you have to close it and then help her to redirect
because
it.
Imagine a baby. It's in a muscle. It's in the uterus, which is muscle, and so it's carried 9 months, and then suddenly through gravity and everything, the muscles open and stretch. And some women who have a lot of perineum muscles and are trained and are toned have a harder birth because they can't let go. It's just like it has to stretch that whole muscle.
So the dilation process is harder on them.
It's hard, but also the baby coming out. So sometimes when I go see them in postpartum, the vagina is still there's a hole. It's open. Not because it's ripped, because
so
the bones
broken, and the child is breaching a little bit, but it's, what do you see? Where would the hole be that's open?
No, after the birth.
After the birth.
A week after. Well, usually everything closes again, but sometimes when you look at her, it's just still very open, and those usually have postpartum depression because it's just coming out, and they just cry the whole time because it's just coming out of their body. I learned in the Mayan tradition. The Mayan says the energy comes in here, goes through and comes out.
This is for all or the women?
For the women at the birth. And the Mayans give birth with the husbands. They give birth in the hammock. And at the time of the pushing, the husband sits behind the woman and blows in her crown, because this is the energy is open, and he helps her have the baby.
Wow, that's powerful. And so, you've also facilitated births like this as well?
Yeah, that's how the first births I learned.
Wow, that's amazing.
in the jungle.
Wow.
Yeah.
So then, first of all, thank you. And I hope you guys understand this is key prize information, and that really is not often being spoken to. So understanding now these poles, and you have a partner now, she's given birth, she's experienced both as opposed to what she's used to. So now there's this, I could even go so far as to say an existential crisis, or a crisis from how she existed before.
But usually that energy exchange is in the partner.
Right.
But now this energy exchange was with her and the baby.
Okay.
Right? So the baby comes out, and she's propelling out love from her breasts, the milk's coming out. There's just so much she's giving, so much yang. And then this is a typical issue between first-time partners, that the husband gets jealous of the baby.
Because he wants that, he's used to that.
Because he's not getting that energy from her.
What would you suggest the couple does then? I mean, one, of course, awareness is going to be key, but awareness sometimes it doesn't do it all. What practical step would you suggest a man to do, and a woman now knowing this? And I know it because not everyone has a midwife, or even is coming in contact with that knowledge. That this means to me that there's many people who've given birth, and we have that term postpartum, but they haven't yet done any process to close.
I think, well, as a midwife we close. It also depends how you are with your sexuality as a woman. A lot of women don't want sex. That's cultural too. That's very cultural.
Would the sex be healthy for them?
Well, it's here in the jungle. I mentioned to the men that it has to be consented.
Yeah, not forced, sure.
Well, it's for you. It's sure. For a lot of men, it's not sure. So a lot of women are having unconsented sex the whole time.
Wow.
And so it's I'm really horny, I need to have sex. And I knew a woman who got pregnant in the hospital before going home.
Really?
Yeah. And women who have C-sections after a week are having sex.
Sure. Nice.
So she had like major surgery,
Wow.
7 layers. I don't think she's up for it.
No, so
But
so
she
there's
can't
a-
say no.
there's then has to be, and this is where the education comes in, a knowing and a hearing beyond our
Yeah.
selfishness, you know, to
But
to
then
honor
there's the
that
other
woman.
side. There's women who are so like they're in trauma. What just happened? This baby came out of my vagina, and I'm not comfortable with sex. And I've heard a lot of couples that are like a year without sex, and I'm like, okay, this is a
So
like you
there's
kind of have to
no
jump over your shadow.
Ah, you gotta jump over your shadow.
Yeah, because
That's
the
funny.
first time something goes inside of you,
Yeah.
it's really weird. Like,
After birth.
okay, the first thing you pee
Uh-huh.
when you give birth, and you feel like there's like a fire in your urethra.
Oh, it
it's
burns.
like it burns like a motherfucker.
Damn.
And
I like
so
how she
you're
said
like,
that. It burns like a motherfucker.
because you're like, nobody told me this.
Right.
But that
So that's
first
interesting.
pee
So the
always
first pee-
happens.
Before the birth or during the birth?
No, after the birth.
Okay. And that's
Uh-huh.
but it's a cleansing pee, surely, so it's gonna be
Yeah,
Yeah.
but it happens like it's
First.
because everything was stretched.
Right.
Your urethra
Oh,
was
even your urethra was
stretched,
Damn.
and you're like, wow, this stings. And then you're like, oh my god, I have to take a dump. I don't want to do this.
And is it also the same pain as well? for the
no, it's just
birthing?
fear
Okay.
because you just push the baby out.
Right.
Imagine like
I mean, sometimes the
This
women
size.
things come out, you know, during the birth.
a poo, yeah,
But like,
but
so
that's
this is
because your
afterwards.
anus is stretched to the maximum.
Yeah.
So imagine everything. This is very detailed.
Yeah, it's detailed, but it's
You're asking
this
for
is
me
it,
to
this is
find
it. Right. No, this is I like the caliber level of straightforwardness.
So then you have to poo the first time.
Uh-huh.
That's like a major thing.
Mhm.
So those are two things coming out of you after a huge baby came out of you.
Sure.
So usually on the third day you go to the toilet and you get over that.
So
So
the
but
women
the
will
sex
be
is the
holding-
same.
The sex is
Like
gonna
the
be
sex is the
because
same. It's like something's coming inside of me.
again,
I
we're looking
don't
back
know.
last
This
time.
is
You
really
kinda-
weird.
Yeah. Okay.
So the vaginal canal
Mhm.
is a muscle.
Right.
It adapts to what is. It's like an elephant's trunk.
Mhm.
But it feels like because it has a lot of folds because when the baby comes out, it opens those folds, those creases
So all
open.
that surface area is,
Uh-huh.
now made available so that this child can come through. And then what are the contractions? look
But then
like?
it goes back. It's a circular muscle. So a lot of men have this idea that because that's another thing we can talk about here with the men because
Yeah, sure.
I remember my ex. He said to me, to be really honest with you, like seeing a head coming out of your vagina kind of really turned me off. To have
I won't
sex
lie.
with you.
It kind of fucked me up a bit too. You know, to watch the whole process. But that's when you're like, man, it's just this is it. So it gave me a lot of
Okay,
different
so-
respect. It changed your perspective. But I mean, head's been coming out those things for a long time. So I tend to look at it more
Well-
pragmatically. Like head went in, head's coming out.
Well, when you have you ever been really, really constipated and you take a huge dump? Your bum hole doesn't stay open.
No, it closes.
It closes.
Yeah.
So does the vagina.
Yeah.
The vagina, actually me as a midwife, if I do a vaginal check, if the woman doesn't let me in, I can't even put a finger in.
Sure.
But a head just came out.
Right.
So that's the thing, again, with the energy, that the energy is coming out, now something has come in. And it's like, whoa, I have to change this now.
And
So
so
the
there's a
first
process.
sex is weird.
This word, okay.
And then if a woman had like vaginal tear or something and it
yes.
didn't heal right, it can really be painful.
And I've also
And
seen
you're like,
that process where the woman tears and she's sewed up the wrong way.
oh
and
yeah.
then having to undo that and then
Yeah,
and go.
I healed those things.
That's great. That's
So
great,
like if
yeah.
anyone needs that.
And for
But
real,
because
these are
I
things that are
believe in
important also
sexual
for the men to look at.
pleasure and all
Yeah.
that.
Well, that would I'm sort of, but I want to segue into orgasmic childbirth because that's been coming up a lot. I researched that as well.
Yeah.
But also there's the misconceptions, right? Because people are there's what people are thinking, and then actually how few times that may unfold for someone.
I think they're not talking about a true sexual orgasm.
Right.
Okay,
That's-
these
thank you.
midwives who wrote, and Deborah Pascali, she's from, the late 60s, 70s, This is the sexual revolution for women.
Right.
So before that, the sexuality wasn't even spoken about at birth. Well, I do births in all cultures, and where the sexuality is reprimanded, the woman won't even take off her clothes to give birth.
Isn't that something? Yeah.
So I think orgasmic birth is like saying, hey, dude, you can have pleasure at birth. You can be free. You can take your clothes off. You can like kiss with your husband if that's what you want. It's like giving us this freedom to experience something. It's not saying you need to have an orgasm. And now, in this day and age, we're so scared of pain.
Right.
So we're scared
of
seeing our woman in pain.
Or some people are too into pain as well. We're in extremes. There's extremes.
Exactly. Sure. But mostly as a culture, we try to numb the pain, like with video games, with Advil, with just everything is numbed. So that's why a lot of women go for the epidural. I do want to say, if your partner has an epidural or a C-section, there is like a disconnect with baby.
That will happen.
Yeah.
Okay, can you share a little bit more about that? Or this is just something that you've noticed? I mean, 1,000 childbirths, she's got her case study. Plus.
Well, no, there's studies about the epidural most of the modern epidurals have fentanyl in it.
Get out of here. Are you serious?
Yeah, so you put that in your back.
Okay.
In your spine, a little fluid.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Most
painkillers go that way anyway. That's why we have the crisis we have, right?
Right. So that's starting with the birth, which there's so much more to the whole birthing process.
Plus, when we do that, sometimes the contractions stop, so we have to give the mother Pitocin, which is natural, synthetic oxytocin.
Pitocin.
That Pitocin makes the uterus go hard, but it's the love hormone. So studies have shown
Pitocin would also be a love hormone because it's synthetic.
Yeah, it's the love hormone.
Okay.
It's the love hormone. Oxytocin, no, but Pitocin, no.
No, okay, thank you. Yeah, I just wanted to clarify.
Yeah.
So Pitocin
So studies have shown that where so the babies in the birth, they produce oxytocin as well, right? But when we give it to the mom synthetically, the baby can't produce it anymore.
So, oh wow.
So the baby starts feeling more pain.
Interesting.
So the pain we're taking away from the mom, we're giving to the baby. So studies have shown babies with an epidural and Pitocin cry more, they don't latch as well, they have problems adapting because they're in pain.
Wow.
And the mother is numbed from here down.
Jeez.
So there's this like, she doesn't feel that massive expansion, the ring of fire, just everything that takes you out into the cosmos, and like you die, you see death, and you're like, so you don't have that rite of passage. It's like, for men, I explain, it's like climbing the Mount Everest, and the last bit, they take you up in a wheelchair.
Oh, I see.
Okay.
Yeah, that's anticlimactic, right?
Yeah. You're like, you can't connect to this effect. Like, wow, I did it, man.
The endorphins and everything. So, with that said, I just want to share this. Now we're speaking to differences in the journey of birthing a child, some of the things that actually we may not know that impact, how they impact it. And I just want to state, like, some of you have gone through or navigating, or you're right in the space, and you're experiencing some of these, the symptoms and also the effects of maybe choosing to do C-section for whatever reason, also having had the epidural. Now we're finding out these things, but this isn't to guilt anyone. This is just to provide information, because maybe this gives you some insight as to what you're navigating in this space currently.
The light went
out. Turn on the lights. Let's try that again. There we go. So again, I'm just requesting that you receive this as information, and even though we may be speaking to different philosophy, but we're speaking to what's present right now, what has been received in the experience, and then now we have solutions as well, right? There are solutions that you can utilize in the next experience with birth, and also to start to incorporate this knowledge that's being shared, which is priceless knowledge, in your process of.
I think a lot of men, when Also, so they feel like they're between society and the woman. So like society saying, no, you have to take her to a hospital. You're crazy. You don't want to do home birth. And you know, she's like, I want to be at home. I want to do this. Yeah, but you shouldn't, babe, because this is dangerous. Or that's.
So they're getting this in the year.
But also they feel responsible. Okay.
Yeah. You
and
know
they
that there's
feel
major
guilt.
fear, right?
Yeah.
I've talked to men, and so the fear, and they want to do the at home, and they're really for it. And then there's the fear from their father wounds, or from them not being sure that they can show up in the way that they want to. What if she dies?
Yeah,
What if I do something that's negative?
That's why you have to come with science to men.
So
this is like, you know, Hensi Gur wrote a book on like statistics. And it's like, yeah, this is, for instance, the study on Pitocin and so. One doctor once said to me, you know, the amount of pain the woman has is not a reference to whether the birth is going right or wrong. That has nothing
first
to do.
To hear.
Yeah.
So the pain. So what would that be then? That's amazing, because that's the thing that we're going to look at is, what's the scale, 1 or 10? No, pain doesn't kill a person.
No.
That's true, actually.
The pain won't kill you. So like again, the patriarchal way is like letting fear come in. I try to dominate that fear, and then I need to make a choice for her because. Let's go for the epidural because she can't. This is just way too much. When you need
to make a choice for her? Because there are some times when the person is really out of it and they want you.
So women have mantras. Women put men. It's a big thing wanting to be at the birth of your woman. You have to be prepared for this, and that's why you need a good midwife or someone who's been to lots of births and will say it's okay, because she'll be looking in your eyes and she's like, babe, this is not okay.
Yeah.
I need a doctor now, and I'm gonna die. I'm gonna fucking die.
Because of the pain and everything, and then
and that scares you because she has theta waves that are her waves are going into you.
You see? How important? Have you ever heard this before? I doubt it. Yes. So she's using all her hypnotic feminine wiles. And she's in pain, and it's like
they're yang energy. It's all yang. It's all coming out.
Coming out. And so for the man, it's important to know that the pain won't kill her, but also we don't want to ignore something important.
What hormones are going through her body?
Okay.
So usually the hormones are oxytocin, endorphins, which is natural, morphine. So she starts like getting all
woozy.
Yeah, and she'll say, I'm really tired. I can't do this anymore. And then she might throw up and she might shake. I got the shakes.
Oh, this brings back
I got the shakes. Is this normal?
During that pregnancy, I developed, and I would eat for comfort. So I actually had 2 Subway sandwiches. It was me, the nurse, the doctor didn't show up till the baby was just about born. So it was just the 3 of us after she picked mom out, you know. And I was just like holding her hands, like, breathe. And the only person I could see that I had a sandwich was the nurse, and the nurse was like, shut up. Just eating the sandwich. I got you. And she never saw it. The sandwich was all gone by the time. 2 sandwiches gone, baby in the house.
So right before the birth,
as we gain all the pregnancy.
Right before the mother starts pushing, the baby doesn't have its own metabolism, so it gets everything through the placenta, right? Okay. But you need a metabolism to survive outside the womb. So what the mother starts pumping through the placenta in the end is basically adrenaline. An adrenaline type.
For the baby.
It goes to the baby.
Because now we have
so
the baby
will
coming
stay
out,
alive.
The umbilical cord,
yeah.
And then it's still attached to her.
Yeah.
So before she expels it, in that expelling, while it's still attached to her. So we shouldn't cut it until the placenta's out.
Yeah,
is that true?
Shouldn't. Yeah.
That's good to know, because they cut it.
But also for you to know that she can be in this space like right at the end. Suddenly she opens her eyes and they're wide, staring at you, and her breathing will change. She'll be like, okay guys, I don't think I can do this anymore.
Right.
This is it. I'm gonna, and then you start feeling it. You're like, oh my god, I'm getting scared. I think I'm gonna go to the toilet. I'm gonna get diarrhea because it's you. The adrenaline is pumping through you.
So you're feeling all those things.
You're feeling her adrenaline.
Yes.
But for me as a midwife, it's like I feel it too.
Wow. So husband feels it. You as anyone in the room feels it.
Anyone in the room.
It's an energetic.
That's why there's so many C-sections.
Oh,
because
shit.
right at that point,
You're
if the
kidding me.
doctor doesn't have his shit together,
He's gonna
he
come
gets
out
scared.
too.
Yeah.
Wow.
I work with a doctor he's my partner in work, and when
Not to
that
mention the
moment,
medical bonuses that people. I know about you. Yeah.
So the doctor, when that moment comes, he goes outside. He's like, I'm gonna go for a walk. I was like, it's okay, you just go.
Okay.
Because it's that moment, it's so intense. It's what
Yeah, I guess some people you
gets
gotta
me
be
old.
put out for it, right?
Yeah.
Because it's kind of the work I do is taking people through the death process.
Yeah.
And I'm open to all of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so thank you also for that work that you do.
But like to know a man logical will know, hey babe, you're gonna have your baby now, and you're giving this baby adrenaline to survive outside the womb.
Then you can keep his head together and
Yeah.
help guide the process,
Yeah.
right? And move through the transformation.
It's like letting it go through you.
Yeah, excellent.
Yeah.
And then that of course is going to create, a closer thing. It's really, really beautiful to see the couples who've navigated this together. Even
Yeah.
if some couples didn't like each other so much before, but then after it's like, wow, we did this.
And then I say, it's like, because we feel with a woman,
Yeah.
we kind of feel we did it with her.
Yeah, for sure.
That-
Fellas be
we
like,
did
yeah,
it.
we did this, and
We
she's
did
like,
it.
go get me something to drink. Yeah, I understand.
But we all have the adrenaline high when the baby's born.
And I've seen this in ceremony as well.
Yeah.
When
And
people
I-
come into the field and then everyone's like, yeah, like, no, you didn't ingest that. That person, that person is navigating with the medicine. You're in the field.
Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly.
So that's.
But
at first I've heard this.
So
about
I do
it.
tell mothers that,
Mhm.
look, he's gonna be up with you for a while,
Sure.
but his adrenaline's gonna go out pretty fast.
What
Yours
does it
is
mean?
3 days.
3 days.
3 days.
Interesting. Okay.
And when that crashes,
For her.
you're gonna be in trouble. Yeah.
Why? Because you're out of the adrenaline.
Well, the thing is, like,
When
imagine
mine's
you
crashes.
no, when hers crashes.
Ah, okay.
Oh, when yours crashes, you're in trouble too, because the mother will be like,
I was in trouble.
dude, like,
Wait,
it's
what are you
okay
doing?
that he falls asleep, but did he fucking have to snore in front of me?
Yeah, sure.
And it's like, you have to, I tell women, just have that compassion, because he didn't go through what you went through.
So what I've been doing over the past 3 years is also like assisting men in that process.
Mm-hmm.
Helping them to build robustness, kind of like like physical training, but
Yeah.
in preparation, and then being with them, so they're able to reach out to me
Yeah.
at any time, so that I could say, no, this is normal, this is okay.
Yeah.
Here's what you want to do, because maybe sometimes they feel they need a dad figure, even though I won't call myself a father
Yeah.
figure. But and I didn't have that during the time,
Mm-hmm.
because maybe I did something different than my father did. But
Mhm.
knowing, okay, I cultivated that within myself in preparation for the next pregnancy. That didn't happen with us, but I never stopped cultivating it over the years.
Yeah.
So 20 years I've been looking at and preparing to create a family again. And wife number 2. Now we're having children. I'm reading up on all the things.
Mhm.
So I have material, and what I'll do is have the fellow will get his book that he's told to get, to help with Lamaze and everything, and then I practice with the men.
Most people
They
don't
haven't read
read.
it.
Most men, I
So
have
I make
books
them
on
read,
like
so
how
if
to.
they're preparing with me, then it's a part. And
You got it.
so in these programs that I have, we're speaking to, okay, what's your ideal partner? What are the misconceptions? You really spoke to that. The ways that we have expectations, projections that we have, on a relationship that may not be realistic. So now we want to get into the pragmatic, the realistic, and I think it's really special that you mentioned, hey, you're not that person. The men want us to change, and we want the women to stay the same.
Mhm.
But really, like you said, the opposite happens, where in truth we're all changing, but our change is to be able to navigate with the woman as she's shifting, and to see her.
The thing is, the woman changes double. And that's hard, because the woman changes through the birth process.
Mhm.
It's like climbing Mount Everest and going
Right.
up and having this experience.
Yeah.
And really, like, I had one woman who had a C-section the first time, and the second time she birthed with me.
First time, and then second she did natural birth.
Yeah, with me.
Okay.
And she said, I felt so empowered
Wow.
that I did, in Xcaret, they do the
Mhm.
crossing in the canoe,
Yeah.
and they have to train for like 6 months. She's like,
Sure.
dude, I can do that. If I gave birth, I can do anything.
Oh, see, I can
Yeah.
see that would be super empowering.
Yeah.
I
So-
be feeling like that, like, birth. What are you talking about? You got this. Yeah.
You die
Mhm.
and you resurrect. And so I think what's really hard is the maiden dies. as well.
So for the women to have that dialogue and to be able to go through that?
For the women,
And
it's
for the men
really
too?
hard, especially women who are in their 30s. This is
Yeah.
for the men out there, because
Okay.
also for me as a midwife, women who are in their 30s have the most difficult birth experience.
In their 30s?
Yeah.
Are you saying that
When
you
they're
have
in their
birth
20s,
younger?
it's pretty fast.
Oh.
And when they're in their 40s, they're already past all their fears.
Sure.
They were given so many fears, they're like, I don't care.
So it's more about what they've
So
been
in the
exposed to life.
30s is when women have done their career
Uh-huh.
and they've trained their minds so hard, they've become men in many ways. And then it's like, I can give birth really easy. I do yoga, I breathe. It's like, okay,
It
let's
ain't
see,
it, huh?
this is a whole different level.
It's like a man's thinking too. You know?
Yeah.
It's funny.
There's no control in giving birth.
Mhm.
It breaks everything around you.
Mhm.
Because imagine a life force.
Right.
Life force is duality, it's everything.
Mhm.
It's pain, it's pleasure, it's everything. Women laugh during labor, then they cry, then they pray to God. It's spiritual, it's non-spiritual, it's pure pain, and then it's full physical, and then it's pure spiritual.
Okay, and so this
And
isn't
it's everything.
Jade Aloha, and this isn't to again discourage people from having children at different ages, but it's great to have context for what you've cultivated that
It
you
just
might not
takes
know
longer.
about. And the process. So now to know it may take longer. Know that there's things that you might need to unlearn giving
Yeah.
birth in your 30s, 40s. Some people. What's the oldest that you've? That you've given?
45.
45.
Or 46.
Did you? Were there any complications that?
No.
No,
No.
all healthy. So
Yeah.
would you say that up to 45, you may be
Well-
okay depending on how you're treating yourself, or it's just really
I
depending?
actually this woman, she wanted a hospital birth because her two sisters had births in home births in California, had to have an emergency transport, and
So
she's
she
like,
was scared 'cause of
dude,
that.
I'm geriatric.
Yes.
I'm like, I'm okay with the C-section, but I want you there with me.
Okay, great.
So she completely let go about the outcome,
Uh-huh.
right? She didn't have a pre-concept. I want my home birth like in Instagram with a pool with this.
None of
and
that nonsense.
It was
Just
like, dude,
really
I just
natural
wanna-
being present with the
Then the
experience.
baby was like breech. We turned it. I turned it into position, and she paid the hospital,
Huh?
right in Playa. She lives in Tulum. And then I was like, "Are you sure you want to pay everything before?" She's like, "Yeah. I'm
You gotta- you have to
100% sure."
prepay? Just to
She wanted to
Smart,
prepay.
yeah, smart. I don't know. That's a lot of money
Anyway,
though, right? Isn't it like
so
10 grand or?
She called me
Uh-huh.
and she's like, "I'm having contractions." I'm like, "Okay." And then like 10 minutes later, she's like, "They're really fucking strong."
Mm.
And I'm like, "Oh dear, it's gonna be a long one, right?" So I go over, I check her. I was like, "You're 10 centimeters. You're gonna have your baby right now."
When you said it's a long one, meaning, but it wasn't a
I
long
thought-
one. She was
no,
already,
no,
she
she
was
was
already
there.
breached. Okay,
Yeah.
cool.
So she had her baby at home.
Okay,
But
amazing.
there was, I was like,
She
"We're
made it
not
to the
driving
hospital.
to the hospital right now."
How many times? Also, there's
And she
I know
was
these
like
poor friends
over
here.
the moon. She was
Amazing.
like, "Wow, this is amazing!"
Beautiful,
Like,
beautiful.
yeah.
That's fortunate. I know.
She always
I know,
wanted. Is there still something can go wrong? No, nothing.
After that, she's done.
Everything's fine.
Amazing.
Placenta's out. She's
Mhm.
like amazing. Yeah.
What are some? Actually, I was gifted some placenta
Ah.
from one of your students. You know, and of course I received it in such a beautiful way.
Uh huh.
You know, and so what's the thing that you noticed, or would you advise for people to do with placenta once you know the child is born?
Yeah, I always.
Even in hospitals, because you can say, "Hey,
Yeah.
don't take my placenta, thieves," and then
I don't know, like the hospital we work with, because they know us. People actually walk out with the baby still the cord together.
still, yeah.
Yeah, but it's very, very seldom. So like my whole thing is like I would like at least 24 hours attachment
To
there.
keep it attached,
Yeah.
to not sever
For the
placenta.
cord to dry,
That's
and
amazing.
then we dry it, and then we can still dry the placenta, make capsules, whatever you want.
Now, 24 hours with the cord attached to the placenta and baby, so the
Mhm.
baby and everything. So then
Yeah.
she would expel the cord, or is it still attached to mommy?
still also
Everything's still attached.
the baby comes out, and then the placenta comes out,
Okay.
and the cord's
And of course,
attached
so it's
here.
like
Yeah.
the placenta. So then you have what do you end up doing with the placenta? Is it in some kind of liquid? Probably not.
No, like we put it in a bowl,
Okay.
and usually I put it in a Ziploc and then put some ice in the bowl and put it on there.
Amazing. And so that's got to be different, right? I also feel like
Oh, the
in
children
today's-
are completely different.
the children, you notice something
Yeah.
different with the children.
And they always cry when you cut the cord. And what changed it for me was I had one mom in a prenatal, in like a course
Yeah.
preparation, and we asked if they had any memories, and she's like, she actually has a visual memory of when she was born.
Wow.
And she said it was a visual memory of my father with some scissors coming to cut my cord and me getting really angry.
Damn. That's important to know.
And I was like, whoa. And then, like, we always cut the cord like 2-3 hours later. And then I had some people who wanted a lotus birth, which is to wait for it to fall off on their own. That's when I learned a lot about the process.
Wow.
And one dad, he spoke he was crying when he spoke to the dads about it. And he's like, it's just actually you hold it and you feel like you're holding a heart. And then when he was saying it, he started crying. So this organ has, it's like,
So
Robin
real.
Lim calls it our 8th chakra.
Mm.
Like it's the forgotten chakra.
This is also great. Are you open to mentioning some books that you would suggest to men? If there's anything, and I can always come back to.
Well, I think Hensi Gore, she's like, I don't know the title off by heart, but she wrote like a book about, like numbers, statistics, because this is always for the man, he always has to have scientific discussion. Michel Odon is the father. He's an obstetrician. He invented humanized birth. So, because like birth is a social event. I mean, imagine in the 50s how women gave birth. And women in Mexico are still giving birth like in the 50s.
Wow.
And so, they were tied down, strapped,
Give them a little something to bite it. Yeah.
like knocked out,
Okay.
told that they were kind of, Freud made
Sure.
us hysterical and we have to control this woman because she's not. So very, very, we have the twilight births. I don't know if you've heard about that.
The twilight births.
Twilight birth is where you knock the woman out you knock her out and you give her so much Pitocin and other medications. Basically, the uterus contracts so much that it pops the baby out like if you would squeeze
Wow.
an olive and
Sneaky.
squeeze the
So
thing
see
out.
that?
Yeah.
Dang.
But a lot of babies died in that process.
Man. Forget that.
No, yeah, it's
Yeah.
horrible. And the woman wakes up like a day later, and where's my baby? I don't know.
Oh.
That was crazy times. That was in the 50s, 60s.
So we have the opportunity then in the times ahead to, one, definitely be more educated about the whole process, to, encourage the men to, of course the next question would be, how do you find a good midwife?
Well,
How would you identify that?
I just want to make a thing about Michel Odon.
Okay.
Michel, he's a guy, and Igor Tchaikovsky is the father of water birth. He's a Russian guy invented that. But they kind of met in the 80s when late 80s, 90s, when the wall broke down in Berlin, and so the Russians could actually come. So, but Michel Odon started working in France, and he started working in the late 60s, 70s. And what happened then for the women? Well, the sexual revolution,
Right, in that time.
They invented the hormonal pill. Women weren't slaves to motherhood anymore. So he was part of a movement. These are liberated women talking about their sexuality, walking around naked the first time. And he's like, women, maybe they can give birth on their own terms. Maybe
So
we
this
don't
was the
have
first
to tell them
introduction
how
of
to
that
give
within
birth.
Western society, huh?
Yeah.
Was getting into that. That's interesting.
So the movement has, I've been to a lot of traditional births, and where a society represses women, there will always be violence against the woman at the birth. Even the midwife can tell her to shut up.
It's just inherent.
Hurry up, you'll kill your baby if you don't do what I say.
Oh, this is a very sensitive time that then, everything's important.
Yeah.
Of course, throughout the whole process, but definitely in that sensitive moment, to be considerate of the words that are coming, to honor the energy.
Your awakening is the most important thing for this. But maybe your father or your mother at the birth isn't awakened.
Yeah.
So in postpartum, another point is that whole dynamic, the couple with the mother-in-law.
Oh, tell me more. Yeah, for sure. The postpartum with the mother.
I always say to
there's
couple,
like that protective.
You're building a new first time, your first baby, because the second, the third, your mother-in-law won't even show up. Nobody gives a damn.
It was all in your grill.
Nobody cares. That's when you most need her.
Right.
When you have 4 babies running around,
sure,
nobody even cares about you.
So from what you've seen now,
So like everyone's on you because it's the first baby and whatever. But this is the first time you're creating the basis of your family.
Which is important.
So like I tell the couples, don't receive anyone for like 2-3 weeks at least. Do the 40 days on your own. Because what happens is when the mother comes in, she'll be like, no, you don't do it like that.
Right.
This is not how I did it with my baby. And the father suddenly steps back. No, she knows. She's a woman.
What can I ask? Yeah, for sure. And
and that breaks the partnership.
Oh. So
I've seen men invite their mothers in postpartum, and there was this one couple, I mean many, but he's like, she didn't even come downstairs to cook for my mom.
Got you. So
and then she's like, he doesn't understand me and my needs. That whole relationship broke apart right there and then because of the in-laws coming.
So it's really preserving your partnership, which is important.
It's not just preserving your partnership, it's learning how to deal with this newborn in a rhythm as a family before someone else comes and tells you what to do.
And what about,
because everyone tells you what to do.
So tell me then, in the Mayan culture, do they do 40 days?
Yeah, but there's no way you're going to get rid of the mother or the mother-in-law. So that their relationship is very different between men and women.
In the Mayan culture?
Yeah.
Okay.
So this is all women's stuff, right? The birth is about women. The man is there, but then he goes and works in the jungle and he does his shit because the midwife and the mother-in-law are there.
So it's the support of 3 for one person.
Yeah.
And the child. That's interesting.
No, and the whole family there.
Support. Yeah.
But it can also be very patriarchal in a way that the oldest woman, we call that matriarch, but it's not, because a matriarch is not in a patriarchal system where she's hierarchy, I'm above you. In the Mayan, I see it a lot with girls who get pregnant and then there's no dad. So they're like underage, they're like 13, 14, they get pregnant. That baby actually gets registered as the baby of her mother.
In the Mayan culture.
Yeah.
So it's registered not as the baby.
It used to happen. Now it's super illegal. They kind of control it, but like 30 years ago when I came, that was completely normal. And that woman would give that baby to her mom and her dad, and she would go out and work until at some point she got a lawful husband that would be, and then she'd have kids. But that baby would think that his grandmother is his mom.
It's interesting that my second wife was Palawan Filipina, but so in the Palawan culture, which is in the South Pacific, Micronesia area, that's also customary that the first child would go to the grandparents, and so they could request that. And I have, one of her cousins was actually a child of a cousin, but became to the grandparents, and so the mother. I remember sitting with that, and I was like, "You mean our first child can be yours?" But then actually, I was like, "I'm okay with that." Not just because I didn't give birth, but because I like tradition and customs, and then I could, doesn't mean we're excluded from the life. It's just that the child's being raised by a different
when it
maturity.
Doesn't oppress women or men.
It does, you say, or when it doesn't?
I support tradition when it doesn't.
Yeah, and then I look through the context of the tradition as well.
Yeah.
Because we have our Western way of looking at things that can still be oppressive. Even our non-oppression
Of
through the
course.
Western eyes is an oppression.
Yeah, definitely.
Because it's an oppressive system. So just gaining more. What I'm saying is that I had to take some time to think about it and look at what that culture produced in terms of the previous generation with that and how they moved around that to see if there was any merit to it.
Yeah, I had my 4 last children with my man in the community, and really it was truly, and it was a dual experience, right? But
Yeah.
the positive part was really the tribe, the support, my mother-in-law, my father-in-law, who taught the children everything. But she could be very dominant. And so like I already had 4 children. It wasn't my first baby. And she's like, I want that little white baby under my and I'm like, I'm not giving it to you. You're not giving it Coca-Cola.
Oh, got you. So that's where there's the clash.
And it's also like I wouldn't give any of my children because that's my own story, right? Because I was abandoned. And so it's like, yeah.
So, wow, thank you so much, for this. How are you doing okay on time?
Yeah.
You see how we ping, right? So I'd love to do this more. I really,
Yeah.
And I could come with more structure. So I really appreciate those of you who've been on, in and on. And I know that I'll download this and put this to YouTube and also send it to you so that you can share it however you choose. And what was important for me is as a man in the men's space to also invite a woman with so much experience and who's so dedicated. Your reputation precedes you. And so I've been really looking forward to getting the opportunity to sit down with you, to chat, to just be in your presence for all the work that you do. Because I'm also with some of the people, it's countless people who you've helped through processes whose children are now running around throwing the football at this point, And so it's really special work that you do. And, your dedication really doesn't go unheard of. And so there's also men in the space who gravitate to that, who appreciate it. And now I'll do my best to help convey some of the wisdom, or at least spark that interest in our brothers to know there's an avenue, a really profound avenue to come into that understanding.
I think I'm really grateful you invited me because this is what it's about. It's getting the two together, the polarities coming to terms, understanding the men understanding women and women understanding men, and then the individual understanding the other.
This is it for me. Most of the work I do, I think the pinnacle of my work is the harmonizing duality, in which I know there's no duality, but it's presented that way. So for us to come into the understanding of our complementary nature, which I hold, and then getting the opportunities to come into that energy, then we're working together. And then we can have a relationship that's blissful, that's beautiful, not just in the area of sex, but in companionship, in longevity, in honoring our cycles as they present themselves in truth, and then being able to receive, because there's great wisdom and a great attainment in each part of our archetype, to embrace that, and then we can embody the whole.
I
and
think
we get to do that at a young age.
One thing we didn't talk about at all is the baby.
I'm open to, if you want to keep going.
We can do another one if you want.
What are some things
if people are interested in that? Well,
Please.
like you were talking about your relationship now with your children, the long term, how we bring up our children. It's not easy, right?
I'm totally open to do a series.
Looking back, like I said, I will do everything much better than my parents.
Sure.
Now I'm like, I think most of my kids need
right?
therapy.
I think it seems like it's always going to be that way. Maybe that's a process, karmic thing that they sign up for, but it's easy for us now at this point to be like, blah, 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 because we've gone that route. And so, I'd love to chat about that. And what else? So I have mentorship. This is one that we get together with the men. I'm going to tag them on this, and hopefully they'll utilize this as kind of an intro to see which men want to go further. Then I do another men's gathering called the Manbodiment Movement. So mentorship, we got about an hour, 2 hours to get into it. The Manbodiment Movement then takes the brothers of mentorship, and we can go deeper. We can come into somatic healing process. We can come into the movement. We learn different things to deal with at a deeper level what we've uncovered. And then there's also the harmonizing duality, which is a space I hold with women as well. And so I would love to invite you at some point if it's convenient for you, or we can even take a field trip to you to make it easier. And to just talk about, so we can do a series of things where we talk about, you can bring some of the red technology should you choose to. And that's a different process for holding space. I've also been invited by, a couple of different women in that space, and so that'll happen.
I think what I
Just
think
the communication process,
yeah.
not for me in the red tent, for sure.
I think we need spaces. So it's been really interesting. My whole mission is to create space for women, for motherhood, really, for
Okay.
motherhood in a very spiritual way, bringing the consciousness of the great mother to earth, because I think if we do want to save humanity, we need to see it from a nurturing and creation process and not domination and control.
I would agree with you.
And so I do think that can happen is, I mean, men have always had their spaces, you know, not healthy ones
Not
necessarily,
healthy ones, for sure. You know,
but they've
people are like-
always had spaces, and I think giving the gender these spaces is what's giving it power. And it's really interesting that when women want spaces, it always provokes a reaction.
In the
So
in
I
this culture
have-
here, or did you feel this in
No,
is this what you just
everywhere,
saw
from everywhere. Like I have like a Temascal, I have a sweat lodge in my house, and
Excellent.
I focus on getting women in there and doing women's healing
Mhm.
in the sweat lodge, because this is what I do.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna heal men, or you know, there's spaces where I bring the family together and everything, but like, you know, on a physical level, on an emotional, spiritual, very powerful spaces. Sometimes we have the, you know, the fireman, and sometimes they get overwhelmed by what's going
All
on
the
in
feminine
there,
energy and
because
stuff.
it has to come out. So part of the healing is to see the wound. That's the first step to actually, because a lot of women don't even see it.
Yeah.
I don't know if it happens with you with men,
It
right?
does
But
happen. And I hold space for men and women.
Yeah.
You know, I've also been in the space of doing work that one would call womb healing,
yeah,
which is, you know, touching, non-touching, all these things. I just drew back from some of it only because there's too much going on, and I feel like I should learn more. So you can have a natural proclivity to assist, but you see there's things that I'm still learning. So I'm
Yeah.
always willing to say, I don't know. Let me slow down and do work on what I have.
I think
that
that
ability
womb
for.
healing is really interesting, because I think
That
a
term,
lot-
right?
That term. I don't really. I'm like trying to understand what people do, and when I read about it, I'm like,
And maybe
nah,
some of
this
it,
ain't
some of it
womb healing.
maybe creating more trauma too. So to do
I think
the
it's
armoring
trauma
in the
healing.
process would be considered trauma healing.
And
that does have an
sexuality,
impact.
that doesn't have to do with the womb.
Mhm.
The
Okay.
womb,
Yes.
like for me, the man
Mhm.
has a seed, the seed for life. A woman can't create life on her own. It's created with the
Interesting.
seed.
Right. It's a
So what is the first door? If we start in the east,
Uh-huh.
it's the fire. It's the ignition. It's the semen. It's
Right.
like, this is what I want to do,
Mm-hmm.
right? So we can create babies in rape, in love, in different, but the intention is there to create life.
When it's coming from the man and the seed. Is that what you're saying?
Both of them have
Sure.
to. The woman has to receive it,
Yeah.
and that's the womb healing. That's the part of the woman. But the part the man does is to consciously create his sperm
Right.
and to consciously spread it.
Mm-hmm. Could you share something? Maybe your definition of womb healing. I think
My
that would be helpful.
well, the womb is the universe.
Mhm.
It's where creation
Universe,
starts.
universe. Yeah, dig it.
No, it's a universe.
Mhm.
You go in, and it's like a black hole.
Right.
It's black. And everything can happen there. So for a woman, it's like really clear. Everything is possible in that womb.
So that's a space of, okay, I'm going to say something now.
So when we're not in connection with this
Mhm.
ultimate power we have, we can create a lot of destruction in there.
Okay. Now, when she speaks to the womb as a black hole, and me knowing a little something about black holes need a black nor hole, right? But what it is a space where
Space.
or
Matrix.
It's actually it is a space, but also an anti-space, right?
Mhm.
And we've been given some wrong definitions where it's really where things are recycled, where hydrogen is created as the primordial thing. So you have all of this energy coming in, and then it's condensed again in a certain way because there's so much, it's a saturation point, and then the primordial beginning unit
So who's
comes
God?
out.
Where's God and all that?
God's everywhere and all that.
Around.
Yeah, around
the space.
Around the space, but really
So
what I'm speaking to.
the woman is around the space.
What I'm speaking to is the actual definition. We're talking a definition that
of
is
space,
a real definition. Now, space doesn't really exist. But so, because we're in a construct. But what I'm saying is, people, when they think of a black hole, they think of something that everything disappears in a black hole. So I'm now speaking to the consensus. What I'm saying is, a black hole is actually where things come from. And this is tying it into how you're describing the womb and the yoni, is that there's the anti-space, which is where all the power is at. And the anti-space then, through its impotency meaning like it's getting rid of and expanding in the centrifugal, unfoldment, this is where we're creating matter. And this exists within the woman. And so God is in all of those spaces, the unseen and there's the unseen aspect, which exists, the secret place, and then the expression, which also exists and happens in a woman.
Exactly.
So everything I'm saying is in agreement, but I want people to have a different definition. That's not based in atomism.
And it's really like, imagine, so the sperm going into the womb. It travels through the womb and goes to the ovaries, and in the ovaries brings out the egg, and then it unites, and then it goes back in the womb. It makes like a hole in the womb, and that's where life starts. It sucks life.
That force comes in.
But who's God in that sense? It's mother. It's the body of the mother. It's God. It's holding this space. It's giving it energy. It's giving it blood, right? And creative energy.
So did you say who's
like the nurturing,
creating space that it's occurring?
Yeah. So imagine if that space is in a really bad state.
Then
what is she creating? Yeah.
Yeah, and also there's other things that I'm gonna look forward to speaking to, such as some of the other things that get lodged in that area from the creative force not being expressed, but yet all through the magnificence of the body, that we're able to encapsulate, which would be a cancer or a fibroid, and I've done ceremony where the fibroid comes out and we open it up and there's people parts in there, and so that really speaks
like
to the creative nature of human and woman. So also just thank you. So there's many ways that we can go with this, but really I feel like we're in the same direction, and what I can share is then I'll look forward to speaking about, now the baby information that you care to share, anything else that you feel is a topic that's important for us to know, and then I can go back with the men and start to bring this up in discussion. We have, again, the harmonizing duality, which I'd love to have you in as a guest, and if there's just however you want us to have learning or some type of ceremony so that we can receive the information to get to know each other better. I feel like you'd be the ideal person for that.
Amazing. Thank
and so
you.
Certainly we have that space. So the next one will be at Holistica on the 6th. So if that's something that you'd like, if that's a date that works for you, then I'll start working on that now.
Yeah. On the 6th of March.
On the 6th of March, like 6 p.m. we meet, and I think more people will probably attend knowing that you're there, right? And so it's the men and women coming together, and even if the fellows don't show, I will be there, and I'll count for 10 men. And I will have questions, because here's where I come in now.
Yeah.
I'm working with the men and myself now to cultivate a good universal man, and with that means that I'm looking to truly understand, really, our connection to one another, and then to help perpetuate something healthy in our dynamics. So I'm for the household, I'm for unity in that way, but it doesn't have to be traditional household, but a healthy, functioning household. And I'm here to build robustness in the men, and robustness it doesn't mean you're so hard that no one can tear you down, but it's just that you can navigate and really hold the space when you need to be balanced, in a good feminine or masculine energetic.
I think a healthy household has to be really spicy.
I think so. I mean, how can it not be, right? It's,
well,
right.
It has to, because
tell me more about that. You said spicy a certain kind of way. She was like, I think it needs to be spicy. Dígame, ¿qué es esto? Spicy. What kind of spicy do you
Yeah,
because
it sounds like
habanero,
really like, we're all so nice to each other.
Oh, okay, yeah. No, I agree with you.
There's
no
has
choice
to be
here.
nice. There has to be love, but there always has to be like a little rupture to grow.
Sure.
And if the other one is willing to grow with you,
Yeah.
it's amazing.
And there's
it's,
that
it's like,
friction, right? Friction is what causes
the growth is painful.
Sure.
Growth is painful for our ego, for whatever.
Spicy. I'm putting that down.
Yeah.
I like the way you said that. That could be actually a topic with growth. Growth in the household must be spicy. Spicy, not regular chiles.
Yeah.
What's the hottest chili that we have here? Spicy.
Because it's not about
Spicy
monotony,
household.
and it's about you living your truth, and you coming. I mean, it's all about illumination.
Right.
And it's like giving the other one the opportunity to illuminate is like highest compassion, no?
Yeah, to allow that light to come through, to be able to learn from each other. And again, so
Because the
that's
other
my
is me.
drive and my charge here,
Yeah.
is that I want to help men through all the processes of their life, from birth to death, from being able to protect themselves to working on the land, which also teach you a little bit about relationship if you've gardened a little bit, which is husbandry.
Yeah.
And I guess defining it in a healthy way. And then also just having that support for men. I support men and women, but really I'm supporting intimacy and us learning, because we want to know each other. At the core, that's what I find.
And I find your work so interesting because it's just been like filling my mind lately so much with, the transgenic, the corn that the U.S. said
the genetically modified?
Yeah, genetically modified, and they didn't give Mexico a chance to get out of that.
Oh, so really, most of the corn here has already been infiltrated by?
Well, they said even if you don't buy ours, we will contaminate your corn to make it modified.
This is really warfare that's happening.
Yeah. And so it's like, oh God, we need people like that who can clean it out.
Yeah. Well,
we need everyone to wake up right now.
I think I may offer some of the previous work that I used to do, because there's really, I don't see that happening here in terms of, so I would be working with people who are doing construction and deconstruction. So there's the decontamination.
Yeah,
so I'm a health and safety professional as well. So it's like a lot of different things. I'm just like, shut up, Ez. You surf and you help people. I'm a specialized trash man. But really.
But we need that. That's
so I can train. I was thinking to create a training program, but only so many things. So right now it's working with the Heart of Men, building up the structure, and I'm creating some things, and then the men just take that and run with it, because they'll grow. I've seen a lot of growth, believe it or not, in spaces that people talk a lot of shit about, and it's like these men have been consistent, they're showing up, and everyone is growing. And of course, I'm holding an intention, a strong intention. I'm never going to let that go. This is my life purpose. And so I'm a zealot about it, and that's cool. But I'm having fun now. And this year will be a year of fun. So
but these new men are gonna have to be cleaners.
Absolutely, they're gonna have to be clean. They're gonna have to know how to.
They have to be
themselves.
clean, yeah.
Yeah. So
but
I'm a man who
when you're
prepares
talking
myself.
about the village and the tribe, there's gonna be a lot of shit they're gonna have to deal with.
That's what we're here for. Everyone's like, I know that we have wars and things going on. I'm in to clean up whatever. It means we got to clean up the bodies. We got to take people through. There's a post something for everything. But some of us are just geared. So I accept that I'm geared for taking people through, and I'm geared to clean up the mess. I don't care what it is, as long as I know how to protect myself in the process. And also, I'm not afraid of death in a sense. So that means that I'm entering into it.
Yeah.
Yeah. But not in the there's a humility. There's an appreciation for transition, but I see it, and that seems to be what touches my heart. To think of, wow, so really for you men, cancer also helped me to really appreciate, my first bout with it, what a woman goes through, because I was not sick for a long time, with 7-8 weeks of going through, the radiation therapy, but nauseous all day except for 1 hour. Wow. So then I really thought about, oh my God, what did my partner go through? Because I just saw, man, I'm spending all this money, and all you do is throw up the food. You're puking, and I'm gaining all this weight, because I gained sympathy weight. This was pretty funny to me, because I thought I was fit. But I was
Mexico, they all
gain this sympathy. So I know this about myself now. So I'm eating healthy. And really, I have a lot of appreciation for the process of human, and I feel like we're going to learn so much from you. And I think the men I can help guide them in a way that they can receive, and I can also translate. There's a translation, you know, in the way that men get things, but I am able to receive what you're sharing, and I think it's really beautiful. And so I have this admiration having not met you, and then now getting to actually sit with you and receive this, I'm even more grateful. So thank you so much
Thank you
for taking this time.
Thank you. Whenever you
so much to me.
Any questions
Absolutely.
you want.
Yeah, and so of course I always have a time, but for right now, cap it. So all of you who are tuning in, can you share with people how to get a hold of you? And
yeah, I think you put my link, Mother Medicine, and you can just direct message me. Sometimes on Instagram I take longer, but I'm in Tulum. I have also an Instagram that's called La Cueva de la Partera, the Midwife's Cave, La Cueva de la Partera.
I'll get the spelling.
Yeah.
The Midwife's Cave.
LaCuevaDelaPartera.com.
Oh, .com. All right, perfect. So I'm on that. I got that down. So here we go. La Cueva de la Partera.com.
Yeah, that's what I tried to start a movement to create a specific type of midwifery. Right.
Excellent.
That's really talks about all the spiritual stuff.
Wow, powerful. Yeah, there's so much more
like, you know,
the unseen that you didn't bring up, but I know that you're aware of, and I think that important thing that you spoke to, that I want to also let the men know is like, so your woman has given birth, so she's shifted in who she is, and that's going to continue. So we want to hold space for that process. Also, and then you get another man to hold space for your process, because really your identity is shifting at that time too. And then also the opening, the actual physiological, spiritual portal that's been opened in your woman. You know, that's something for you to consider, and also to support her in the process of connecting with someone maybe outside of the medical industry who can speak to that, who can speak to the different things that are actually going on with her, so that she can also be close and come back into herself and be rejuvenated.
And I think like the last point is, like I was saying, like the men change, but not that much. The women change on two levels, socially and physically, spiritually. And I think to understand that when you've had an empowered birth, that leaves women really confused.
When you've had a disempowered birth?
No, an empowered. Both leaves you confused.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's like they feel like they can't fit into society the way it's functioning now. It doesn't work.
Okay, I definitely.
And that's the whole matriarchal thing, and that we need to change society because something's wrong. Right. Because a woman then has to split, either go back to work and like kind of cut off her motherhood, go back to the maiden, or become a full-time mom and lose every other identity she has. And so it's like, dude, no, it's neither nor. But it's very hard. I'm like, for a lot of women, I'm like a hero because I had 8 children.
Yeah. For all of us.
No, but for a woman, it's like, dude, how did you do it? 8 children. Marriages that didn't work, so I was basically a single mom with 8 children. And then like going through hardships and still being a midwife and still attending 1,000 births. Like, how the fuck did you do it?
Yeah. So, you know, I think.
But that's the womb healing. That's the space. That's the real womb healing, huh? That's meditating on space.
I think what's going to be powerful is the fact that you'll be able to now, with your breadth of experience and depth of experience, be able to give some people some clarity and a way to discern, because we have a lot of terms, right?
Yeah.
A lot of terms that are throwing out, and people are traumatizing themselves more. So I'd love to be able to talk about some of these terms and get it from now the definition of someone who's really in the space, who's really helping people to heal in that way, and then for the men, they can help to look out for their partner, or at least they can have the dialogue, and then for the women, they can say, no, sister, that ain't what you talking about. I heard from Sabrina, you know, this is really what it is. Now let's get back to the spiciness in my household, and, you know, and then go from there. So just give you a big hug, and thank you so much.
Thank you.
Appreciate you.
Yeah. Well, let's do that in March.
Okay.
6th of March.
The 6th of March. So yeah, I can direct that. You see, I'm a man of action, so I'm going to go get that set up. And for those of you who tuned in, I want to thank you again. This is Ezra here. Men of Mentorship. Of course, what I'll do is I'll chop this up. I know this was a long one, and everyone's Instagram attention span is only 10 minutes.
Max.
but I'm going a long time. So I'm gonna we'll chop this up. I'll get you this information, and then you'll also hopefully be able to. If I can post this on YouTube, I'll do that. Take notes. Bring me any questions that you have in this regard, or that you'd want for me to share with her. And then she's said she's gonna help us, and then help move along this dialogue, and also give us a little guidance into what information we should look at, and also how we can be more effective and more impactful, because that's what we want, right? We want to be effective and impactful in our household and in creating a wonderful dynamic with your partner. And she also said it, you can keep it spicy. Spicy. So how are you going to handle the spice? A little horchata for you. All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, let me stop it now.
Yeah.
Aloha. And yeah. Boom.